Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be giving romance recommendations for the brother's best friend trope. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to Trope Week. If you guys didn't know, I'm doing a series on my channel called Trope Week, where every day for a week I am posting recommendation videos based on a specific trope. Today we are going to be talking about the brother's best friend trope. I really do like this trope because a lot of times it kind of has a friends to lovers aspect to it, which is one of my favorite things in romance. So I'm really excited to be giving some recommendations today. I have about 7, 8, maybe 9. I have a lot of books to talk about, so let's just hop right in. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop right in and talk about some historicals first. So the very first one is a recent read that I really enjoyed, and that is Scoundrel of My Heart by Lorraine Heath. The book follows Catherine and Griffith. This is more of like a best friend's brother trope. Catherine is expected to marry a titled gentleman because the only way that she is going to get her inheritance and this property that she really wants from her grandma is if she ends up marrying a titled gentleman, someone a part of the nobility, and she's like specifically not supposed to marry a second son. Griffith, our hero, happens to be the second son. They know each other because Catherine is best friends with Griffith's little sister. Griffith, as a second son, is definitely looked over quite a bit. He has aspirations of opening a gambling hell that is specifically for people in society that are kind of like cast away. So the second sons, self-made men, wallflowers, basically anyone who doesn't have a title or who is married, and he kind of wants this gambling hell to be a place where they can go and they can kind of let loose. What happens with Griffith's family as well that he has to take responsibility for, so it's never the right time for them to be together. And in this book, Catherine is actually trying to get engaged to a duke so that she can get her inheritance. So the relationship really isn't off to a great start in the beginning, but they just can't resist each other. Throughout their entire life, they've always been drawn to each other. They have this very funny, like, witty banter. They love teasing each other. They love just joking around with each other, and I loved this one so much. Lorraine Heath's writing is absolutely amazing. This kind of reads like a telenovela. Like, there's so much drama and action and side plot that's happening to our characters that when they finally get together, it's so freaking satisfying. So I highly recommend this one. Okay, the next book I've talked about a ton on my channel. It's no surprise that I love it. It is The Duke in Disguise by Cat Sebastian. This is the second book in the Regency Imposter series, but you do not have to read this series in order. The book follows Verity and Ash. Verity owns a publishing company with her older brother, and they are pretty short on funds, so she is trying to publish this romance novel, which is basically kind of like an erotica novel for that time, and she needs an illustrator to illustrate the book. Ash is a childhood friend that has lived with them on and off throughout the years. He is best friends with her brother, and he is also an illustrator, so she kind of like propositions him to work on this project with her, and they end up working in very close quarters and end up falling for each other. This one also has kind of like a side plot because Ash discovers that he has some ties to the nobility that he never knew about, so he's kind of struggling with his place in society. I do really enjoy Cat Sebastian books, especially her audiobooks. I feel like she has very unique historical romance plots, and in this book, Verity is openly bisexual, so that was nice to read about as well. Okay, next up, let's talk about some novellas that have the brother's best friend trope. The first one I want to talk about is Birthday Shot by Risley Adams. Shay has always kind of had a crush on her brother's best friend, but her brother is like very dead set against them being together. So as they grow older, they've kind of drifted apart, but they end up both coming back to their hometown because her brother is getting engaged, so they're there for the engagement party. And at this time, it is also Shay's birthday, and then she has like this huge birthday bash, and she decides that for her birthday she is going to shoot her shot. She is always crushed on her brother's best friend, and she's just gonna go for it and get herself some birthday sex. Birthday sex. I always have that song like in my head whenever I talk about this book. They end up having like one steamy night together on her birthday, and they end up falling for each other. What I really liked about this book was it was just so sweet. I loved our hero. He was so supportive of our heroine. Our heroine is actually an influencer in this book, which I actually don't like reading about like famous people or influencers. This one was done so well, and it was kind of cool to see like how passionate she was about what she did, and also how supportive our hero was. Like, that was the best thing. Drama from this book really stems from them trying to keep it forbidden because they don't want to tell her brother, because he's like dead set against them getting together, like I said. But I honestly did enjoy this one. Like I said, Risley Adams just is amazing. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Being Hospitable by Mika James. I've talked about this one a lot on my channel as well because it's one of my favorite sapphic romances ever. The book follows Kiki and Charlie. Kiki has always had a crush on our other heroine for the longest time. So has like a forced proximity trope as well, because Kiki ends up moving in with Charlie because of a job opportunity. Her apartment is just much closer to the job that she's applying for, so Charlie agrees to let Kiki live with her. He takes this opportunity to kind of like seduce Charlie. She's dressing in some lingerie. She's being a bit of a tease. Obviously, Charlie is pretty hesitant going into the relationship because Kiki is her best friend's little sister. So I really did like this one because the communication was amazing. Our characters were so good at communicating and being open and honest, and the brother like handled the situation pretty well as well. The thing I will say is I wish this book was just a little bit longer because I loved our characters so much and I wanted to read more of them. Okay, so the last novella I want to mention is Hefty by Jessa Kane. This is definitely one of my favorite Jessa Kane books. It's part of her series where she features some more plus-sized heroes. Just to let you guys know up front, this does follow some younger characters, but it is all consensual and they are both at the same age. So I know some people don't like reading about younger characters, but I feel like this one was actually done pretty well. So this follows Zach and Jill. Zach is a football player and Jill is a cheerleader. Jill is friends with Zach's sister, so I guess it's not like brother's best friend trope, it's like best friend's brother trope. Does that make sense? Anyways, Zach has always felt like he was kind of out of Jill's lead, so he's definitely been more hesitant about jumping into a relationship with her, but Jill knows what she wants and she wants Zach, so she kind of seduces him and makes a pact that they're going to be each other's first time and they're gonna kind of explore the sexual chemistry that they have with one another. This is as sweet as a steamy Jessa Kane novella can get, and I do really enjoy it. It's only like 80 pages, so you'll fly through it really quickly. Right, so next up I want to talk about a hockey romance. This is Good Boy by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. If you're familiar with their other hockey series, Him, this follows Jess, who is Jamie's sister in that book, and Blake, who is their best friend and teammate in their hockey team. This book, Jess is one of the younger kids in her family, although she is an adult, but she is definitely one of the younger siblings, and she's kind of like struggling to find her place in her life. She's hopping between jobs, not really knowing what she's passionate about. She ends up planning, being like a wedding planner for her brother Jamie's wedding. Wants the wedding to go absolutely perfect, and Blake is the best man in the wedding, and he is just like hell-bent on seducing her and flirting with her and just being a little bit of a jokester. Had kind of a one-night stand a couple years prior, and Blake definitely wants to pursue a relationship with her, but Jess is very hesitant because she wants the wedding to go really well and doesn't want to get distracted by hooking up with Blake. It ends up following their romance, and this one is just like really silly, sweet, a light-hearted romance, pretty low angst. I liked reading about this one because Jess, our heroine, was just a fun time to read about. I liked reading about her discovering herself and what makes her happy and like what career she wants to do as an adult, so this one was a good one. Okay, so the next one is pretty angsty, and that is Serenading Heartbreak by Ella Fields. Okay, this one is so angsty. It is a love triangle. The book follows Stevie, who has always been in love with her brother's best friend, who is an aspiring musician. Is actually in a rock band with her brother as they're in high school, and then they continue to make music as they get older. There's quite a few trigger warnings in this book. There's trigger warnings for alcohol and drug addictions, slight mentions of cheating, kind of, not really, and then also a trigger warning for miscarriage. So there is a lot going on in this book and a lot that kind of tears them apart. Stevie ends up going off to college, and she ends up meeting Aiden, who is like this cocky baseball player that she also has an instant connection with, and it follows their love triangle. This one is, I wouldn't say it's like a traditional romance because it definitely ends in a little bit of a different type of a happy ever after, but I really did like this one. It was such a fast read because there was so much going on, but I will say it's very angsty. It's very angsty. Okay, and then the last book that I want to talk about is Sinner by Sierra Simone. I did a whole reading vlog on this book and you guys know how much I adored it. I literally cried like that entire reading vlog because I was so obsessed with these books. This is the second book in the pre-series. I would say you have to read this series in order. It follows Sean and Zenny. Sean is going through a lot. He is definitely struggling with his faith, which is like a whole theme of this entire series. It has a lot of conversation about the Catholic Church and religion itself. There is a trigger warning for mention of suicide because Sean's younger sister committed suicide because of some things that happened to her in the Catholic Church. So he's definitely struggling with his faith. He is also going through a hard time because his mom is battling cancer. He's the oldest brother, so he is used to taking a lot of responsibility. He's also a businessman that makes a lot of money. So he is at this business party and ends up seeing this beautiful girl that he is just insanely attracted to. It turns out that it is Zenny, who is his best friend's younger sister. They haven't seen each other in a really long time, and now she's all grown up and very sexy. But the twist is that she's actually a nun, or she's practicing to be a nun. So she's about to take her vow of celibacy. She decides that she kind of wants to have like a last hurrah in her life. She feels like she hasn't really experienced things or been tempted much. So she kind of propositions Sean to show her all the wicked ways of the world and kind of like tempt her. Basically decide to spend an entire month with one another and have some sexy times, and then they're supposed to part ways. Well, it follows their romance, and I really do enjoy this one a lot. I think I mentioned this one in my recommendation video about heroes who read romance, because Sean reads historical romance in this book. It's kind of the way he bonds with his mom. So I know I've mentioned this book before, but it is the brother's best friend trope, and it is a really good one. Okay, I know I said that was my last recommendation, but I quickly just want to talk about two historicals really fast. So the first one is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I wasn't going to mention this one because I feel like everyone has read it. We all know about it. We've all watched the Netflix series, but I want to talk about it really quickly. Heroine Daphne is entering into one of her first seasons and she's trying to get married. It kind of ends up making a deal with Simon, the Duke of Hastings, that they're going to pretend to date. Because she is pretending to date a Duke, that would mean like a lot of suitors will become interested in her because of his status, and they have kind of like this fake dating aspect to it. He is also the best friend of her older brother. This has a huge family dynamic to it, and I feel like that's the most intriguing part of the series, is the family dynamic. So a lot of people love this one, but the reason I wanted to mention it is because if you like Bridgerton and you're kind of looking for more historicals that are similar to this, then I would recommend Love Only Once by Johanna Lindsey. I have it annotated because I read this for our Historical Hellions book club. These books are like eerily similar. Like, they're so similar. They have a lot of the same tropes. I actually like this one a little bit better, if I'm being completely honest. This is also a first in the series. This follows Regina, who is entering into her first season. Actually accidentally becomes compromised by our hero. Our hero has a mistress, and his mistress has been irritating him, trying to get back at his mistress and prevent her from going to this really popular ball that she wanted to go to. But he ends up mistaking the carriage that his mistress is in and ends up kind of kidnapping, not really kidnapping, but he ends up taking our heroine Regina and taking her to his house, which definitely causes a lot of rumors to be spread and ruining her reputation. So it becomes an arranged marriage. Our hero is not her brother's best friend. He is her uncle's best friend, but her uncle is kind of like the same age as her, and they're very close, like a family dynamic. So it's kind of like a brother's best friend trope. Honestly, like I said, these are so similar. They both have a huge family dynamic to it. The entire series follows like the different siblings in the family and their romances. Some of our heroes are best friends with our heroine's brother and then our heroine's uncle. Both of our heroes in this book do not want children, and that's like a huge conflict in this book. So like very similar, but I like this one more because it doesn't have any consent issues like this one does. And I also feel like it was just a little bit more of an entertaining read because it kind of reads like a novella. Like, it definitely has like a typical novella-ish villain, and I found that this one was really humorous. So if you liked Bridgerton, I definitely think you would like the Mallory Anderson series by Johanna Lindsey. Okay, so those are all of my recommendations for the brother's best friend trope. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have been enjoying Trope Week so far. This is one of my last videos that I'm going to film this week. I have one more tomorrow. tomorrow, so I guess I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's video, I'm actually going to be talking about some tropes that I don't like, so a little bit of a different video for this week. Anyways, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you next time. Bye!